What is going on, everybody? What is going on? Good morning, good morning. Tuesday, March 3rd, 8 a.m. on the dot. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. All right, we got a lot of work to do today. All right, today's a busy day. Lakers taking on the Pelicans tonight. Obviously, we got a lot of topics that we're going to hit on during the show today. And then 7:30 tip-off. You know, my favorite. Make the tip-offs. You know what? Just change it. Make it 9:30 at night at this point. Who cares now? It's my one pet peeve left in the NBA. I got a lot of pet peeves. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure there's more pet peeves that I could hit into. But who's up at 7:30? Not who's up at 7:30, but who's doing a post-game show at 11? Listen to me complaining. The East Coast, shut your mouth. I appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Greatly appreciate everybody hanging out. We're kind of slowly but surely just kind of testing out some different stuff, part of the iHeart partnership, AM 570. This morning we're trying, we're live on, of course, my YouTube. We're live on AM 570's YouTube. But then we're also live on AM 570's Facebook and also AM 570's Twitter, X. So we'll be kind of slowly but surely implementing a couple more platforms, giving more and more listeners a chance to kind of tune in any way they prefer. Whatever social platform you're using, we're going to try to be on all of them when we do the show Monday through Friday, and then, of course, do the post-game show as well. So thank you very much for being here. Whether you're here every day or it's the first time you're here, you're opening up your Facebook saying, who's this clown? Who's this guy on here talking Lakers basketball? We talk Lakers basketball Monday through Friday. Lakers and NBA Monday through Friday starting at 8 a.m. And then we react post-game show as well. So we'll have a post-game show tonight. Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Let me give everyone a quick rundown what we got going on for the show today. And then we'll get ready to get the show started. Do you have a guest? Sammy's going to join me. For those who do not know Sammy does a preview video for every single Lakers game this year. So the night before, he posts up a pregame video or a preview video. He'll get us ready for the Lakers and the Pelicans tonight. When the show ended yesterday, and I did a little bit of that conversation about Luka Doncic and JJ Redick and that interaction that they had on Saturday, and I'm like, hey, nobody's really said anything about this. I felt like by the time the show was over, everybody had something to say about it. So we have kind of get into, a few people had their own opinion, their own thoughts on that. We'll kind of get into it. I don't think it's that big of a deal, like I was saying yesterday, but it is video. It is something that I guarantee you will be asked about today for JJ Redick, will be asked about today with Luka Doncic. So we'll see if there's anything else that's left there. Luke Kennard's impact. You know, one of the things, everybody's so busy bashing Rob Pelinka on a night in, night out basis. You know what they forget about? Luke Kennard's been a nice pickup. Nice pickup for the Lakers. I got some kind of interesting stats here on the Lakers, which, to be honest with you, is a little bit surprising. Their three-point shooting is improving. Their big three, you know, I hate using those terms, but that's the term everybody uses. LeBron, Luka, and AR, their efficiency is getting better since the All-Star break. The Lakers' three-point shooting is getting better since the All-Star break. And Luke Kennard in 9 games with the Lakers, I think, has quietly had a really, really nice impact for the Lake Show. I really do. I think Luke Kennard's been phenomenal for the Lakers since he came over. And like I said, you can give Rob Pelinka credit when you want to. And if you prefer to give Rob Pelinka no credit, you have every right to do so. It's a free freaking country. But I think Rob Pelinka gets some credit in regards to that. So we'll talk a little bit about Luke Kennard. Lakers do host the Pelicans tonight. So here's what the Lakers are trying to accomplish. Zion, by the way, is listed as questionable. He had a good interview yesterday. At least it came out yesterday. I don't know when they recorded it. Him and Malika Andrews from ESPN. And he hit on a lot of different things, kind of his own life personally and at least his perception around the NBA and everything else. He's listed as questionable. I hope Zion could go today. Zion went through a stretch where before he missed this last game, they played the Clippers. Before he missed this last game against the Clippers, he had gone through a stretch where he had played 35 straight games before that, the longest streak of his career. So we'll see if Zion gets a chance to play tonight. We'll talk a little bit about that game against the Pelicans, kind of just the impact of this game coming up. It's a chance to go 3 in a row before your schedule starts getting a little bit tougher and before you start having some real competition starting on Thursday at Denver when the Lakers are in Denver taking on the Nuggets. So should be a fun game to watch. Herb Jones, Trey Murphy III, two players that have been tied with the Lakers. By the way, if you don't get them in a trade, which the Lakers obviously didn't get them at the deadline, those players are locked up for a while. So don't expect to be seeing those players back. I know from a Pelicans perspective, DeJounte Murray is back. So the team's going to be a lot better than their actual record, which is 19 wins, and we'll see if Zion ends up playing. 22 games remaining for the Lakers. So we're kind of reaching that stage of the season where now you're starting to look at the standings every single night. Strength of schedule. You guys remember that. Strength of schedule is something that feels like you hit a certain time of the year and then everybody's now saying, all right, well, how hard of a schedule do you have left? What are the teams that are in front of you? How much harder, how much more difficult of a schedule do they have as everybody's kind of jockeying for position? So I know 3 through 7 right now in the West are separated by 4 games. So that's where we are in regards to that. And then the last thing I'll do is I'll do some NBA news. Giannis returned yesterday. Milwaukee, I'm sure, very excited about it. And then they lost by 27 against Boston. So Giannis comes back. Everyone's feeling good in Milwaukee that he's back. And then Boston's like, cool. Well, why don't we just blow you out by 27 without Jaylen Brown? My God, the Boston Celtics, they're playing some good ball. And I just thought that was kind of interesting. It's like Giannis comes back, they get excited about it. And then next thing you know, they're down. They lose 108 to 81. So get a couple stories in the NBA and then go from there. All right, let's take a look at some of the comments here, and we can go from there. Let's see what we got here from the people. What are the people saying? Before we even get started, let's see what we have here. Kennard is such a nice pickup that I know is the Dodgers guy who pushed that trade, not Pelinka's. Nobody wants to give Pelinka any credit, even when he does something right. Just give the man credit. It's okay. It's okay. If he does something good, then let's just give him a little bit of credit. It's okay. Kennard trade saved Rob's job for at least through the summer. I don't think so. I think no matter how you want to put it, I think Kennard's job is I think Rob Pelinka's job is fine for I would say a year. And then we'll see what happens from there. Okay, let's get one more comment in here before we get the show started. Slee scenario, you play your ass off again for a few days and your coach chooses to single you out regardless of his reason. Believe your lion eyes. JJ knows what's up. Daryl, you're going to have to give me a little bit more context there because I feel like I need a little bit more context. Okay, let's get the show started. By the way, just real quick here, wherever you are, however you're, tuning in or listening, whether you're on X or you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube, whatever the case is, please consider subscribing. Absolutely free. We do this every single day, Monday through Friday. I really enjoy talking Lakers basketball with everybody. Excited about, obviously, growing the channel and this partnership I have now with AM 570 and iHeart. So we greatly appreciate if you guys can subscribe to the channel here on YouTube. Would really appreciate that. Okay, let's get things started here. I'm not going to spend much time on this, but I'm going to just mention it, and then we could kind of move on. Once the show ended yesterday, like I said, there is a little bit of credit once the show ended yesterday, I saw all of a sudden that conversation in that chat about the Luka JJ Redick video that we played. I'm not going to play it again. I'm sure a lot of people saw it on social. I saw it, I watched it on X before the show started. But that video that came out Saturday night, Lakers are playing the Golden State Warriors. Luka subs out, gets to the bench, doesn't give any love to JJ on his way over there. JJ's got a little bit of exchange with him. JJ walks away. Luka gets up, and Jared Vanderbilt boxes him out. We talked about that. We joked around about it yesterday. It started kind of making its rounds, and then a lot of people started giving their thoughts and their opinion. Hey, does JJ have a problem with Luka? Does Luka have a problem with JJ? Listen, I don't think it was a big deal, but it's not nothing. And I think tonight, Lakers are going to play the Pelicans. It's going to get brought up. Probably get brought up in the pregame show. I'm sure one of these reporters, these beat writers that covers the Lakers, will ask, "Hey, this video surfaced and it was out for a couple of days. Can you give us some context to it?" I'm sure after the game, Luka's going to be asked about it. And I'm sure both answers are going to be well prepared. And they're going to say something to the effect of, "Yeah, you know what? In the heat of the battle, this is what happens. We love each other. Everything is great. We sang kumbaya in the locker room." And everybody's going to kind of leave it alone. I thought there was two kind of interesting, completely polar opposite opinions on this. Former NBA player Charlie Villanueva. Again, we're not talking about a Hall of Famer here, but the man was in the NBA for a while. Let's give him his credit. He had an opinion on it. And then Rich Paul doing his Game Over podcast with Max Kellerman, he had an opinion on it. Let me just kind of read the difference between both of these comments and both of their thoughts on it, and then we can go from there. Eric, if you want to play it, and if you could find it, you could kind of play with no audio. You could play that video in the background while I'm explaining both. Again, I don't think it was anything crazy, but I think it's, obviously something. But let me just kind of give you guys an idea. So Charlie Villanueva, he says this during that Luka JJ exchange. He said it on the To the Baja podcast. So he's doing it with, I know, another former NBA player in Raymond Felton. He says, "That's what they say with Luka. The emotions get the best of him, always crying to the refs. But it's a bad look when you're doing it to your coach trying to talk to you, whether coach is right, wrong, or whatever it is. You got to remember there's effing 20,000 people. They got mother effing cameras everywhere. You have to be mindful of that ish. So if he took you out or you don't like something, address him at halftime, address him after the game, address him the next day or whatever it is." So Charlie Villanueva is basically saying, look, if you're going to address this, don't address it in front of everybody. And frankly, I think Luka's reputation right now is he's one of the top 5 players in the world. He's the present and the future of the Los Angeles Lakers. But there's also a little piece of the Luka part. It's like, Jesus, Lord, is this guy, can he complain anymore? Right? Not necessarily to the team or anything like that, but a lot of his complaining is obviously done with referees and things along those lines. I don't think that's the best leadership style. So you got Charlie Villanueva not liking it at all and basically saying, yeah, this is a poor representation. You're doing your coach dirty. Then you got Rich Paul, who on the Game Over podcast says this: "That leads to a healthy relationship. That means there's a profound respect for the player and should be a profound respect for the coach. It ultimately leads to a healthy relationship. When things happen in such a media robust environment, we're looking for the drama of it all. The reality of it is these guys are getting paid a lot of money to do a high level job. The fact that they care, that the care is shown, passion, competitive nature shown, I think it's healthy." All right, we could stop playing the video, but that gives you kind of an idea of two polar opposite angles in regards to this. You know what I think? And it's a little bit of what I mentioned yesterday. And then I want to start talking about the basketball side of things. This is what I think. I think that Charlie Villanueva has some fair points to say, don't do it in front of everybody. I think Rich Paul had some fair points of like, no, actually, I think this actually could be a good thing. And it kind of shows the strength of the both of these individuals, their relationship and everything else. I'm probably in the middle of both of those. I don't think the world's going to end, and I don't think it was the greatest look in the world. And because of that video, it shows just how strong and healthy their relationship is. Probably somewhere in the middle. Hopefully this thing is kind of put to bed by the time we get here tomorrow. But I do think it's going to get brought up today because it will be the first game where JJ is going to be asked about it, Luka will be asked about it, and everybody kind of moves on from there. World ain't going to end, but that thing started kind of getting a little bit of legs. I saw yesterday, right after our show ended, everybody kind of had an opinion on it. Vando with a solid screen. One of the best box outs that I ever seen. I think we talked a little bit about this yesterday. I'll mention it again. Can you imagine if DeAndre Ayton was sitting where Vando was? Luka's getting right over to JJ Redick, right? Just because DeAndre Ayton doesn't typically box out. The ball's got to come to him. Can you imagine if Rui Hachimura was exactly where Vando was? I mean, you want to talk about a clear path to your head coach. He's getting to the head coach. It's a good thing Vando was there. Good thing Vando was there. All right, let's see what else we have here. JJ was about to cut JJ down if it wasn't for, or Luka was about to cut JJ down if it wasn't for Vando. It's definitely not nothing. Am I downplaying it? Maybe I'm the one that's trying to downplay it here. All right, let's see what we got here. Somebody's asking a question about a viewing party. Yes, and I'll pump it more the closer we get. I'm finalizing some stuff with Harrah Resort, which is in North San Diego. April 2nd, Lakers at the Thunder. So just to answer your question here, but we'll get a lot more details into that. Let's see here. Rich Paul is full of you-know-what, talking both sides. Can I tell you something kind of funny? My first reaction when I heard Rich Paul's comments, listen, right now, the thing I remember most about Rich Paul this season is when he traded Austin Reeves in the middle of the year before the trade deadline for Jaren Jackson Jr., and then was like, nothing to see here, guys. Nothing to see here. Nothing happened here. I mean, it kind of shook the whole industry for about a solid couple days, and then nothing to see here. And when I saw his comment yesterday, which, again, I think this was kind of funny to see it, the way I think this is a healthy relationship. I'm like, all right, well, is this guy giving his actual opinion, or is he kind of backing away a little bit from some of the comments that he had in the past? I thought that was kind of funny. Okay, a couple things here, and we'll keep the show moving. Again, I didn't want to spend too much time on it, but I just wanted to at least bring it up. Obviously, in regards to some of the chatter that came from yesterday, I'm not going to make too big of a deal of it. We'll see how they react to it later tonight when they get an opportunity to talk about it in regards to those interviews before the Lakers take on the Pelicans a little bit later tonight. Real quick here, and we're going to bring Sammy on in just a second. I mentioned Harris. Let me mention it again. Harrah Resort SoCal. If you're out here in Southern California and you're looking for a staycation, I think I got the perfect place for you. It's in North San Diego, about 1 to 2 hours anywhere you are in Southern California in the Palomar Mountains. Beautiful, beautiful location. We are going to do a watch party from there, a viewing party. That's the idea. Lakers versus the Thunder on April 2nd. But we're getting, obviously we're still about a month away, so I'm not going to promote it too much until we get maybe a couple weeks out. It will actually be the first time that I'm doing a viewing party. So I'm looking forward to that. But let me just say this real quick about Harris. If you're looking to staycation, want to take the family somewhere, maybe just want to go hang out with a couple of buddies, whatever the case is, you and your girl, whatever the scenario is, consider Harrah Resort SoCal. Beautiful place, beautiful resort, great area of Southern California. And it's just smarter to do so. Staycation where you can get in your car and go drive an hour or two rather than go trying to book round trip tickets somewhere. Think about how expensive it's going to be, the headache of leaving your car there. Then you got to go rent a car. Don't do any of that. Go to Harrah Resort SoCal. Book through us, by the way. We got a link here that will give you 20% off when you book. So if you are interested in booking at Harrah SoCal, make sure you use that link that is in the description. You'll get 20% off. There are some restrictions that apply, something to keep in mind. All right, shout out to Harrah Resort SoCal. Thank you for being a partner with us. And like I said, looking forward to doing some things with them as we get a little bit closer to the start of April. Let's bring on Sammy Long. Sammy is doing our preview videos on a day in, day out basis, always getting us ready for Laker games. Sammy, what's going on, brother? How are you doing?
So, little watch party at Harrah's. What are we? What's your game? What are we? What's your poison? I'll definitely be there.
Okay, you're coming. All right. Okay, here's the idea. The idea is Lakers got a game against the Thunder. I think it's on Prime on April 2nd. So we got a little time here.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea is we all watch the game together, get as many listeners to come out and join us. And then I do the post-game show right after, maybe interact with maybe grab a couple of listeners to come on as well, and they kind of break down the Lakers game with us. And let's just hope that Lakers hang with the Thunder, which not going to be a very easy that's a little difficult of an obstacle there.
I was about to say, this is why it's beautiful. It's at a casino. because if things aren't going the way that we all hope,
there's plenty of stuff to do.
You can wander over the blackjack table, the bar. It's like the world's your oyster.
Yeah. No, we're very strategic with how we do this for those reasons alone. Okay, Sammy, real quick. I don't want to spend too much more time. I keep saying I don't want to spend too much time on it, and I feel like I'm still talking about it. Give me your 30 seconds, 45-second, what you thought of the video with JJ and Luka from Saturday that kind of started surfacing everywhere.
Not much. I think it's because it's the Lakers. People are going to react to it, and obviously, anytime a coach and a player get into it, it's something to talk about. But again, we've seen this in other sports. I mean, remember the infamous Richard Sherman interview post the NFC Championship game with Michael Crabtree? I mean, when you're talking about guys like competing at the highest level, of course they're going to get pissed with each other. I mean, people at the rec league get pissed with each other, and these guys are getting crushed in the newspapers, on the radio, on TV every day. I don't see it as a problem. In fact, I actually liked it because the one worry I had about JJ Redick was that he wouldn't do that because LeBron kind of got him hired. And would he not go after LeBron? Would he not go after Luka or Reeves or the top dogs on the team? I think it actually sends a positive message that no one's kind of above criticism. And if Luka's getting criticized, then Vando's getting criticized, Connect's getting criticized up and down the roster. I actually thought it was a positive thing when a lot of people spun it as a negative.
Well, I'll tell you this. There was a moment in the year, maybe a month ago or so. I don't remember how long ago it was, but there was a moment that JJ had said something in the post-game show that the guys need to pass the ball more. And really who he was talking about was a lot of Luka and probably some of LeBron. But I say a lot of Luka because Luka's got the ball in his hands all the time. And then I remember Lakers got a W a couple games later, and Rui said something to the effect of, shout out to JJ and the coaching staff for calling out the stars. And it was something as simple as that.
Yeah.
And he said that they got to pass the ball more. And, you watch today, it was beautiful basketball. So I don't think JJ is afraid to call out some of these superstars. And frankly, it's the only way that you're going to get respect from any of these players is if you're honest. You don't have to go out of your way and just bring up stuff out of nowhere. But if there's certain things that you can bring up that's going to be a benefit to the team, then certainly go make it happen. And if JJ Redick wasn't doing that, then I would be more concerned about JJ.
I look, is JJ Redick perfect? Absolutely not. But when I compare it to old head coaches, I'd rather have that than Darvin Ham sitting outside the huddle looking like he's again just trying to get courtside seats. Darvin Ham would not lay the law down.
Man, just relax. The guys.
I'm sorry. Darvin Ham was not coaching. Darvin Ham, it was basically letting the stars run wild. So again, is JJ Redick perfect? No. He's made a lot of mistakes over his tenure, but that's one thing that I think he actually deserves some praise for.
All right. I'm going to kind of keep things moving here. A couple topics I want to get into that I'm yet to get into. These are kind of some random stats. I don't really know what to make of this. And, we'll preview Lakers and the Pelicans. We'll do that a little bit later in the show. What do you make of these stats? It's a very small sample size, but let me just kind of throw this out there. All right. Post All-Star break, the Lakers are second in the league in three-point shooting. Tiny sample size. It's 6 games. So nobody's going to make too big of a deal of it. But for how bad the Lakers have been, I mean, honestly, how bad the Lakers have been in three-point shooting, it seems like historically, the fact that they even have a stretch where we could talk about something positive with their three-point shooting, they're shooting almost 42% from three. Is it as simple as this? By the way, there's another stat post. This one is a little bit further out. Let me actually just stay with the threes. What do you make of that stat? And how much of it is because all of a sudden you got literally the best three-point shooter in the NBA in Luke Kennard?
Yeah, I mean, small sample size. It's hard to read too much into that. There was the month of February before the All-Star break. I believe the Lakers were 14th in team defense. Not that that's unbelievable, but certainly was an improvement after they were 23 for most of the season. But yeah, I think the one thing you would have is Luke Kennard needs to shoot more. There's been only a couple times this season so far with the Lakers, or I don't even know if there's been any. He shot more than 4 field goal attempts from 3. And it's like he's so good. I feel like Luke Kennard he's like a boxer that is so obsessed with not getting hit that he wants to show off his defense time and time again. And I compare that to Luke Kennard. He's an excellent 3-point shooter. And I get it that he's shooting 50% from the field. He wants to keep those stats. He wants to take efficient shots that the analytics or the coaching staff should say he's taking. But we know before him, the 3-point shot wasn't really working. I would love to see him kind of up his usage. And I think the rest of the team has just been shooting a little bit better. They probably weren't as bad as they were to start the season because so many guys in and out of the lineup, not even just the big 3. I mean, guys like Rui out of the lineup for a large portion of the season that can hit the 3 ball a little bit. So hopefully that's something going in the right direction. But again, small sample size.
I'm going to give Luke Kennard. I'm going to read a quote here from JJ, and I'll spend a couple of minutes on Kennard. Luke Kennard's not exactly going to get a ton of run on, a lot of our conversations, but I think he deserves it. So I think he was quietly a really nice pickup for the Lakers. And I'm going to give Pelinka some credit because, they took a player that I spent a lot of time wondering what he's done for the Lakers. I mean, Gabe Vincent, I don't have to tell you, did nothing for the Lakers in 2.5 years. And they get somebody in Luke Kennard. I think this is going to answer part of your question about why doesn't he shoot more. First off, I know why he doesn't shoot more. I know why he doesn't shoot more threes, because if you're any other team in the NBA, what are you saying about Luke Kennard? Just get him off the 3-point line, put a hand in his face, make the guy dribble the ball. He's such a good, lethal 3-point shooter. You'd be an idiot to allow him to take open threes or whatever the case is. Here's what Redick said. I think this is interesting. He said he's got a really good we score mentality. A play can be for him, but he's going to hunt out the best shot and play for the team. And play for the team. All the guys benefit from when the ball moves. Basically, what he's trying to say is there's a lot of times that Luke Kennard just wants to make the right pass. He wants to make the right play. He's definitely not a selfish player. But I think the Kennard pickup, I think we're seeing a small sample size of how he's been able to help. 9 games with the Lakers, averaging over 10 points. Still shooting. His percentages are stupid. 61% from the field, 48% from the 3-point line. I think one of the, obviously one of the better pickups that the Lakers have made in a while. We'll see, what happens as the season progresses. But I think he's been phenomenal. And I think this is one of the more few times where you can clearly just say, hey, that was a really nice pickup from Pelinka, whether people want to give him credit or not.
Well, yeah, and they didn't give up anything. What they said for the entire kind of last month before the trade deadline was the Lakers want to make some perennial moves around the edges, but they're not going to sacrifice future draft picks. Second-round pick, who cares in the NBA? This is not the NFL draft. And to your point about Gabe,
which by the way, I think they were right. I think by not giving up a first-rounder, I think that was smart. I really do.
I agree as well. I mean, as fans, we want them to be good now because we're watching them every night, and it can be frustrating when you see glaring weaknesses about the defense and the lack of rebounding, and up until the trade deadline, not a very good 3-point shooting team. And yeah, did the Lakers go do everything they could to go be championship contenders? No, because this team is setting up for the future, as we've been talking about for a long time now. It's a weird predicament because LeBron wants to win now. Luka and Reeves are set up for the future. I liked what they did at the deadline. Kennard could be a guy that I could see signing for the long-term future. And if he walks, who cares? Because at least you got the Gabe Vincent contract off your team.
And to be honest with you, I think the Vincent stuff that contract was gonna expire anyway, so I don't think it was really gonna matter either way. But I think it gives you a little bit more of an interesting shot the rest of the season. And again, I'm not sitting here with the highest expectations. Let me ask you this question: 22 games left in the year. And, we saw how the Lakers kind of went through this stretch. They started at the All-Star break. It was awful, whether it was the Celtics or whether it was Orlando, and then the terrible loss against the Phoenix Suns that I think had everybody turning their heads against the Lakers. They blow out 2 teams they're supposed to blow out. Tonight will be a game they're obviously expected to win against the Pelicans, which I actually think tonight will be a closer game, probably a lot more competitive. But we'll see. Obviously, Lakers will be expected to win.
The Pelicans, by the way, are going to be good in a year or two. That team has a lot of pieces with Fears and Derek Queen. And if they get a top draft pick and get one like your Darren Peterson or your Boozer, one of these guys, that team could be a player in the Western Conference in a year or two.
Listen to this. Do you remember last year before this? I think DeJounte Murray got injured. I'm trying to think because he's got injured a couple different times. But there was a point before the season started, BI was there, Jose Alvarado. They had some players where you're like, hey, I think there's some real promise for the Pelicans. They can't stay healthy. They had all these injuries, so they obviously were able to go nowhere. Let me put tonight's game to the side for a quick second. Just let's talk big picture for the Lakers. What do you want to see over these last 22 games? I mean, if you want to explain to me what you think of the Lakers today, and then explain to me how potentially your narrative can change with the Lakers. What are you hoping to see over the next 22 games?
We talked about this a little bit on the phone yesterday, and we both came up with this, so I don't want to steal your take. But I want to see them mix things up. There's been so much made of, well, you can't bring Reeves off the bench because if you think he's a max level salary player or part of the franchise going forward, I know a lot of people don't. I do think Reeves could be a part of the franchise going forward. Then you can't bring him off the bench. This big three does not work right now. It's a small sample size, but the only teams it's really worked against were the Warriors, who were missing half their squad. So we can't overreact to them having a great Saturday and Sunday.
Let me say this. When you say the big three doesn't work, let's just really break that down. The players don't complement each other, and LeBron's 41. Like
right.
There are certain pieces that mix together. It's a bad example, but I'm going to give you one. It's like the year that the Bucks won a championship, and it was Giannis, Chris Middleton, and Drew Holiday. Every one of those pieces complemented each other. There was no, and you don't even need to call that a big three. I think the big three that gets so loosely put together. The idea and the concept is just the players don't complement each other. That's just the reality of it. And LeBron's 41.
Right. It's not even like LeBron's fault. LeBron's being forced to play off ball because Luka needs the ball in his hands. Reeves is best when he has the ball in his hands. And I feel like when they're all starting together, it's more of, okay, it's LeBron's turn, then it's Reeves' turn, then it's Luka's turn, and everyone's just standing around. And when you're playing teams that don't play any defense, it can look really good. When you play the Warriors, when you play the Kings, because they don't have elite level guards, when you play the Thunder, when you play Detroit, New York, Boston, teams that get up after you defensively, that's not going to work. Like, you can't just play iso ball the entire time in the playoffs. I'd like to see over the last 22 games, I'd like to see them mix this thing up. I'd like to see them bring Reeves off the bench, try to have Reeves or Luka at all times bringing the ball up, and LeBron, because his IQ, his basketball IQ is through the roof, is probably the most likely to be able to play off ball. And if we're ever going to get excited about this team heading in the postseason, it's got to be because either Rui or LaRavia or one of these guys kind of steps up and becomes consistent scorers off the bench. Because it's so, when the Lakers look good, one of these guys pops off, but it's like LaRavia will have a good night, then
you're like, yeah, he's not gonna, he won't be there for a week or week and a half.
There's no one that's just consistent off the bench that you can point to. I know people are gonna be like, what? He's a rookie, and the fact that you're looking to a rookie to save the team. I'd like to see Theo get more minutes, and not just because he had the dunk the other night right out of the break. People
energy guy, young. What do you really have to lose? Sure.
Plays defense. I think people forget that right before he got hurt, remember, he was getting some run. Actually, that couple weeks there, he started getting some run. I like to see them just try to mix things up, to your point of, like, it hasn't really been working against elite teams, or it hasn't been working against elite teams. So try to mix up these lineups and see if you can find one that actually works.
Yeah, it's interesting. Let's play out the rest of this week for a quick second. So let's say they handle the Pelicans, no problem. Let's say they lose at Denver. Expected, right? I don't think anybody's expecting them. And that's not even because Denver's playing great. It's just the Lakers haven't played well against good teams or teams above 500, plus you're on the road. But I wonder if it went chalk. Let's say they, lost to Denver, beat Indiana, lost to New York. So let's say the rest of the week they go 2-2, and it goes exactly how it's been going with the Lakers, where they're playing about 500 basketball for the last 2 months. They're losing against good teams and beating up on the bad teams. I wonder at what point they say, well, let's try something different, because I guarantee you JJ and the staff are saying to themselves, no, we're not going to play LeBron, Luka, and AR less together. We want those three to play as much as we can together so that by the time you get to the postseason, you feel like they got as much experience and continuity together. But I lean with you, and I think there's a fair share of Laker fans. And this one's interesting because I know you're a big AR fan. Not that you shouldn't be, but I think there's a lot of Laker fans that have the question of like, hey, is this the guy for the future? How much you want to pay him, all that stuff. But for you to be an AR fan and then say, I still think he should come off the bench, that's a little refreshing, if I'm being honest with you, because I think there's a little bit of you're not trying to force it. He's got to prove himself. You got to do this, got to do that. No, just do what's in the best interest of the team. And AR's numbers have dropped since he has come back. I don't think he's been nearly the type of player that he is, but I think the ball's also not in his hands. I think that if he's not the aggressive AR that he was earlier in the season, it doesn't benefit the Lakers.
Yeah, and to the other like part of that, everyone looks at Reeves. This lineup of the big three and then Ayton and Rui is just all offense. And just theoretically, there's only one ball. So Luka's getting the first look, then LeBron, then Reeves. He's the third option. Then Ayton's going to get looks over Rui because they're going to try to run the pick and roll and get Ayton involved. So Rui,
and they you could take the Rui piece out because they have Smart in the starting lineup. But I know Rui's going to play. I know Rui's going to play, obviously a significant amount of minutes too.
Yeah, I just like to see them mix up some of these lineups and try something else because running the same group out there, and maybe this team just has a ceiling. That's probably the answer when we get underneath it. There's a ceiling to this team. They don't have enough elite defenders. They don't have enough front court depth. Yeah. People will focus on the defense, and DeAndre Ayton, his up and down, good against the Magic, terrible against the Suns. I mean, it's just you do not know what you're getting from him every night is probably the biggest problem with this team. But, hey, we'll see. Maybe they can mix something up.
All right, let me throw this your way. Player you have most confidence in will kind of either churn things around or will be a big piece the rest of the way. And you don't include the, Austin Reeves, Luka, and LeBron. And the player that you have the least confidence in that will be impactful or consistently impactful.
So I'm going to cheat. I'm a Thero, like I said earlier, and Vando. I know Redick doesn't like kind of Vando is the odd man out.
Okay, but when you say Thero, do you actually think they're going to use him?
I hope they do. I think if they don't, that's a massive indictment on the coaching staff because every time the guy is in, he's making stuff happen. And I know people are going to point to it's in garbage time. He was getting some legit minutes there in the weeks before he got hurt and played well at times. So I like to see Thero. I like to see Vando. I don't know why Vando is kind of on the outs, especially for a team that doesn't play excellent defense. I know they've gone to the zone a little bit here, but I mean, a zone's not going to work against San Antonio in the playoffs. they're going to shoot their way out of that zone quickly.
Or they're just going to move the ball and eat up a zone, which is why a zone typically doesn't work in the NBA. So those are – I don't know about the Thero one. I think it would be great if he gets some more opportunities. I would be surprised if he gets a lot of opportunities. But you got nothing to lose in regards to that. Maybe in some of these games where – get him a 5 minutes in the first half, a 7 minutes in the second half. There's 12 minutes right there. But I'd be surprised how much they use him. I hope you're right on that because I don't have a problem with that. How about a player that you have maybe least confidence in will turn things around?
DeAndre Ayton. I mean, this guy shows us who he is. He's good for the first month. At least if you're the Lakers, he showed you what he is, and he's not a franchise center because for the first 6 weeks of the season, I remember having a conversation on the preview videos with you about could this guy be the franchise center going forward because he kind of was playing like it for a minute. And then it's just there's a lack of consistency. There's a reason why the Phoenix didn't want him. There's a reason why Portland didn't want him. When Portland doesn't want you, it's probably told us everything we needed to know off the jump. But again, his lack of consistent play, and especially against teams with elite bigs, elite defensive bigs, is a massive problem. I don't think that gets fixed. What about you?
Not even didn't want him. Wanted to keep him away from all their younger players too. There's an article that come out. I'm forgetting the reporter for Portland, but there was an article. It was like they decided not only do we not want you here, we also don't want you near some of our young players. So that obviously says a lot. Okay, player that I'm most optimistic about the rest of the season. I'm still going to throw LaRavia in that mix. I think Jake has been, I mean, Kennard can definitely be in that mix as well. But I think LaRavia, he's a little bit of a wild card. I feel like since everybody started coming back, his significance just dropped more and more. But I liked his play when he was getting a chance in the starting lineup, when he was getting significant minutes. Not that he would do things that were special on offense, but here's the one thing you didn't have to question about Jake LaRavia. You didn't have to question his hustle. You didn't have to question his ability to go get rebounds, his defense, any of that stuff. I think for me, LaRavia has been one of the more, let's put it this way. Laker fans are very, very easily can be convinced of this player sucks. LaRavia doesn't come up in anybody's conversation of he's doing this negatively, that negatively. Maybe offensively he's not doing enough. I get it. Or he's not as confident from three-point shooting. But I still got a lot of faith in Jake LaRavia. And the player that I have least confidence in the rest of the way. Shit, man. It sucks to say this, but how can it not be Ayton? He just hasn't given you anything to give you this hope. And I don't think people are even asking him to do all that much. I just think this is kind of, you might be right. This is kind of who he is and what he is. And unfortunately, not just for the Lakers, but for him, he's obviously hurting his stock every single day. If you can't find a way to just get some dirty work in, be a Clint Capella type of player for the Lakers. Yeah. I mean, it's the truth. Just that's all they really want from you. And if you can't do that, then, obviously it's one of the more disappointing conversations.
I mean, he's kind of done in the league. If you think, he didn't work in Phoenix but then you have the excuse if he's the number one pick and there were some big time players that got taken after him. It doesn't work in Portland because Portland's not really any contention team. They're not very good. They don't have veteran leadership. If you can't, what Clint Capella said, if you can't make it work with Luka and LeBron, who, whatever you think about LeBron at this stage of his career or Luka's lack of defense, name a couple better players of facilitating for teammates. So it's just DeAndre. I don't even know where he goes after this. I genuinely
I'll tell you where he goes. You know where he goes? Picks up his player option and he's back with the Lakers next year. That's where he goes. Yeah. It's the truth, right? Like, this is his life jacket. His life jacket when he signed this contract was, if it goes terrible, I still got 8 and change that I can get with the Lakers. And, maybe Lakers find a way to work something out and he's no longer with them, but he's getting paid 8, no matter what, he's going to get paid 8 by the Lakers, which is also unfortunate for him because you're just too young, 26 years old, too skilled, and to not be able to get in today's NBA, like the fact that he can't get 2 years, $20 million from another team out there. He didn't have to do much in order to get that from the Lakers. And listen, maybe there's a team out there that says, well, you're on the wrong team. Maybe there's a team out there because listen, there are also a lot of other teams out there that might look at the Lakers situation and their predicament and say he was in a bad situation or whatever the case is. The lights were too bright. However you want to describe it, maybe there still is an opportunity for him somewhere else.
That with Ayton, it's the why this team is going to get held back because look at the playoffs last year. Why'd the Lakers get mud stomped in 5 games? They didn't have a center. They literally didn't have a big, and it was kind of on us for thinking they even had a shot against a team like Minnesota who plays a big front court style of basketball. The Lakers didn't have a center that you could rely on in the postseason. DeAndre Ayton was that guy. The stars were aligning. He didn't have to be the star on the team. He got to be
play a role.
Play a role. Be the 4th best player on the team, score, and then rebound. And he's not even rebounding. He's not even doing the little stuff. DeAndre Ayton is frustrating to watch night in, night out.
All right. Denver this week. They got the Knicks this week. Let me throw a scenario for you. If the playoffs started today, Lakers would have Houston in the first round. I think between Houston and Phoenix, 3 and 7, you're separated by 4 games. So Lakers 2 games in front of Phoenix, 2 games back of the Rockets. Of Minnesota or of Houston, Minnesota, Denver, and Phoenix, the team you least want to play. Let me take Phoenix out of the mix here because, to be honest, until they get healthy and everything else. So between Houston, Minnesota, and Denver, who you would least want to play in the first round, who you would most want to play in the first round?
Well, to keep going after DeAndre Ayton, Denver, because who the hell's guarding Jokic? That's unfortunately, I mean, it feels like more of the same.
LeBron, probably.
Yeah, LeBron. They're going to drop Rui down again like they did in that one series. I think Denver's a bad matchup. Now, I know they've been really flailing recently.
Aaron Gordon is so big for them. I mean, he really is. That dude is, if he's healthy, which, by the way, there's no guarantee he's going to be healthy. They've had their biggest issue all season long has been their health. But if he's not available, that's a gigantic difference for that team.
And like the emergence of Peyton Watson, I don't know. The way that team, they have the Lakers number. Are they as good as years past? No, but I would not want to play Denver. I think the way they play is not very good. All right, and then I actually would like to play Houston. I know that sounds because they're
I'm with you. There's a little something about the Rockets that's disconnected.
And what do they not have? Even though they have one of the tallest average starting lineups, I believe they have the tallest starting lineup in the game. They don't have a point guard. Yeah. It's the biggest problem. I don't know why they didn't sign Lonzo. That seemed like the perfect fit for him to go to.
Says you something about Lonzo. I mean, what I would say is I don't know why they didn't. I mean, maybe they just said at the end of the day, like, obviously they had losing Fred VanVleet was everything. I mean, if you had him right now on that team, it is kind of a completely different team because he can set up everybody.
I think they would be towards the top of the West if they had him.
Yeah.
Because you have to have someone run the offense. Don't have a point guard. Steven Adams out for the year. Right. So you have Şengün's obviously great, but he's not some physical big, kind of in the Jokic mold. I think Houston and the Lakers play a lot alike, and I could see, especially if the Lakers had home court advantage, them getting up in that series. And Minnesota, the Lakers had a shot against Minnesota, but again, it's more the same. They're so physical. They're a team in the brand of the Knicks and the Pistons and the Celtics. And as we've seen all year, the Lakers don't play well against those kind of teams. So it's hard for me to think that the Lakers have went from getting beaten 5 games last year to then winning the series. I think Houston is the one matchup the Lakers actually might be favored in.
Let's see here. They have a stretch coming up here in mid-March. Home against Denver, at Houston. So if you want your answer, so let's put it this way. In the next about 8 games, they're going to play Denver twice, Houston twice, Minnesota once. So if you want to kind of determine maybe that home court that you're talking about or who you're going to play in the first round, you might have a much better idea. If you lose to Houston twice, both of those games, I think they lost to them on Christmas as well, then Houston will have a huge advantage over you in the standings, and they'll also have the tiebreaker over you. So, from a home court perspective, I think the Denver thing is interesting as well. They'll get some answers here over the next couple of weeks.
The reason I'm not sweating the Christmas game is if we remember, Reeves got hurt in that game, and the Lakers cut it to close right before half, and then they ended up blowing their doors off in the second. So, yes, the one sample size we've had this year, Houston got after them. But I think Houston there's something not right with that team, like you said.
Yeah, we'll see. Listen, I think the problem with the Lakers, whether it was a player went out or not, I think the Lakers have lost to so many good teams anyways that it almost doesn't matter which good team they play. It could be Orlando. It could be,
really we can't play the Kings in the first round.
No, you cannot. But there's, obviously so many teams that are above 500 that, I think they've had their fair share of issues anyways. All right, brother. Real quick here before I let you go, give us just a couple bullet points. I know you did a preview video on the Lakers and the Pelicans. Talk to us a little bit about what to expect in tonight's game.
They don't play a lot of defense, give up about 120 points per game, and they're kind of trying to lose. They're trying to tank. Jeremiah Fear's been coming off the bench, at least in the last game. He ended up having almost 30 off the bench. And
that one, 30 off the bench?
It was like 26, 28, something like that. He's been fantastic. Derek Queen's kind of been their MVP this year. Looks like Zion's coming back tonight. The one thing I would point to, if they're somehow in this game, they actually they average 9 steals per game, which is actually 1 steal better than the Lakers. And the Lakers, that's the one defensive category they're actually not too far down the list in. So they got some guards, Trey Murphy, as I mentioned, Fears. They got rid of Jose Alvarado, who's with the Knicks now. So a little bit of their defense has taken a hit, but they can get out and run. If the Lakers run their half-court sets and slow the game down, this is not even a game. If they, are turning the ball over left and right, they have enough talent to stay in this game, despite the fact the Lakers, I believe, have beat them the last 6 times they played.
I think 9 of 10, I think, is the number 2. Yeah, kind of a interesting game. I mean, the Lakers, the 2 blowouts against teams they're supposed to blow out, but that doesn't mean the Lakers typically do that. So 3 games in a row here, a chance to obviously just take advantage of the schedule. I do think it'll be more competitive than it was against Sacramento, more competitive than it was against the Warriors, but obviously Lakers supposed to win this one.
I will say I'm a little nervous about this game tonight simply because of that. I think they're going to win, but I do think it's going to be tight. You blow both teams out, and we know the Lakers' problem. They don't have a signature marquee win this year. Their best win's probably the Sixers, the Spurs early in the year when they held Wemby to 19 points. So
look how far back we got to go. No, I was doing this yesterday. No, was it yesterday? I can't remember. It was yesterday, the post-game show after Sacramento. I'm like, what's the last really good win for the Lakers? I had to go Philly. Okay.
Philly was
a home game against Philly, which was a good win. But I also don't think anybody thinks Philly's coming out of the East. All right. I just don't. Right. Maybe they get a little bit of a run. You got to go back pretty far to kind of see when some of their good signature wins were. And obviously, if they win tonight, that won't be. But then the big game will be on Thursday. All right, brother. Thank you for a little bit of a preview action. Appreciate your time. Go enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, and we'll talk to you soon, okay?
Slee, you're the best. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, buddy. All right. That's Sammy Long right there. We'll have a preview video coming up tomorrow as well. Sammy will be getting the Lakers ready for the Denver Nuggets, which I got to be honest with you, that game's a little bit exciting there. I'm looking forward to that game. I'm certainly looking forward to seeing the Lakers go up against Denver, but you got the Pelicans first before you get there. All right, let's read a couple of comments here. Look how disrespectful I was to all our phenomenal listeners here. Let's see what we got here. Let's see what we have here. Hypothetical question. Would real Laker fans trade Luka for Anthony Edwards? Interesting. I think Anthony Edwards is a freaking beast. I think the dude is a beast. It's worth the conversation. Don't get me wrong here. Now, it's not going to happen. So, wasn't it, if I'm right here, wasn't part of the conversation, didn't they say that the Dallas Mavericks approached the Timberwolves to try to trade Anthony Edwards for Luka? Wasn't that part of a conversation at one point? I don't know. We'll see what happens here. Let's see, get another one here. 0 chance against the Timberwolves. That's a real complete team. Lakers have no shot against the Wolves. It'll be the same as last year unless DA can stop Gobert. AR doesn't play many minutes because he was cooked. Let's get another one in here. Rockets would destroy us. Listen, I think there's something very, very fair to say. There is not one team the Lakers would play in the first round. Whether that was Houston, whether it was Denver, whether it was Minnesota. Hell, if it was a healthy Phoenix team that got all their players back, made a little bit of a push, and it was a 4-5 matchup, I'm just, making stuff up here, or another team dropped, whatever the case is, every one of those matchups, none of them you'd feel comfortable about getting out of the first round. That's just, obviously the reality of where the Lakers are and their inconsistency through against some of the good teams in the league. Okay. Let's do a couple things here real quick. I want to hit on a couple NBA stories. There's a strength of schedule thing that I want to mention real quick with the Lakers. Let's do all that here. Before we do, give a shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. I've said this to you guys before, and I'll make my pitch about the Wallace firm very, very simple. They are injury attorneys who can help anybody in the state of California. We created a URL, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. If you go to that website, get a free consultation. I hope you guys never need an injury attorney. if you're ever in a position or a family member or a friend is, just know that you got somebody in the business that's here to help you. They will guide you. They will point you in the right direction, and they will certainly help you if they can. Either way, start with Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm and let them point you in the right direction. It's probably such an intimidating, daunting situation for anybody that obviously needs an injury attorney. Just go to somebody that you can trust, somebody that's been a big proponent of the channel now for a couple of years, somebody I've known for over 6 years. wallacewins.com/Sliwa. That's the website. Shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm for being such phenomenal partners. Okay. One of the last things I kind of want to get into here, and then we'll get into NBA news. One of the last things I just want to point out here, this is kind of the point of the season that you start looking at the rest of your schedule, your strength of schedule. Here's where the Lakers are and some of the teams in front of them. Strength of schedule. The Lakers have the 21st hardest schedule or strength of schedule remaining. So that's really good news for the Lakers because we know they've played really good against bad teams, haven't played good against good teams. But from just the standings perspective and a chance to try to get home court in the first round, I think that's positive. You know who's got the toughest schedule in the NBA, the toughest remaining schedule? Denver is number 1. Minnesota is number 3, which is obviously important because those are two teams that are currently in front of the Lakers. Houston is 19th. Phoenix is 23rd. So I just wanted to set that up for everybody because as we do look at the Lakers schedule, and they got some great tests that are coming up that I think is going to be important. I think it's going to be phenomenal to see how the Lakers do against Denver, how they do against New York, how they do it when they're back on the road against the Orlando Magic. They got Houston a couple times. They got Minnesota next week. This is what it's going to be all about. I think, ultimately we're going to eventually watch the Lakers. I don't really care how they do against teams like the Pelicans or the Kings or the Warriors, who some of these teams are beat up or they're tanking. I want to see how they do against the good squad. So the 21st hardest schedule left, but they do have some matchups that I think will be fascinating to watch the rest of the way and see what the Lakers are able to do against these good teams. I talked about it yesterday, and I'll go back to it. I'll say it again. The only way the Lakers change the narrative is you start beating teams that matter. That's it. There's no other, everything else that we talk about is kind of irrelevant. If you just are hovering around 500 and keep losing to the good teams and beating the bad teams, we already have our answer. We might already have our answer. But a month and a half left into the season, they get to play good teams to really determine whether they got a shot of making any noise or if it's all just a waste of time. All right, a couple things around the NBA here. Let me get to real quick. One thing that I will mention that I think is just a good heads up. Lakers, obviously, tonight against the Pelicans at 7:30. Pistons play the Cavs. Good game there at 4 p.m. Knicks got the Raptors. So a couple good games in the Eastern Conference. NBC Peacock is picking up the games tonight. Spurs and the 76ers. And then the Suns and the Kings later tonight as well, who is going to probably have 11 total viewers because who wants to watch that game? How did Kings get a nationally televised game? How? I mean, can they just start flexing some of these games? I mean, I got the league pass. I mean, it's not that I can't watch it, but why would they be on there? A couple quick NBA stories, read a couple of comments, and then we're done. Giannis returned from missing 5 weeks with a calf strain. He had 19 points, 11 rebounds, couple assists. They played the Boston Celtics, who did not have Jaylen Brown and didn't have Kata, who's their phenomenal center, who all of a sudden is really becoming a beast in the league. They didn't have two starters. They still beat Milwaukee by 27. Damn, there are levels to this thing. And look at some of these guys. Peyton Pritchard, off the bench, 25. Hugo Gonzalez had 18 points and 16 rebounds. Can the Lakers find a couple guys like that? Houston and Denver both won yesterday, kind of trash teams. Denver beat Utah 128-105. Houston beat the Wizards 123-118. Last NBA story I'm going to get into. Trae Young ejected for arguing a no call in the Wizards' loss to the Rockets on Monday. He wasn't even playing. All right. He's set to make his debut on Thursday. Already got ejected. Atta baby, Trae Young. I like the passion. All right, let's get a couple of comments in here. Then we're going to call it a day until tonight when we do it all over again. Thank you for the super, brother. I appreciate you. I'd likely like to see 5-minute stretch of Bron, AR, Jake, DA, and Hayes load up on height defense. DA can play some fours and mid-range, mix it up. I don't think there's a lineup the Lakers can throw out there that I would dispute, because I think at this stage where you really haven't had much consistency from your team anyways, don't you want to try anything? So I got no issue with that at all. No issue with that at all. Let's get another one here. Every team in the league besides OKC, Detroit, and the Spurs are nothing special. I think there's some potential out there. I think the Knicks could still be a really good team. I think the Cavs could be good, but they're going to need Harden obviously healthy. And plus they're in the Eastern Conference, so they don't have to go through this, the difficult West. I think Denver can still be really good. They got to have Aaron Gordon. But I get your point. There's a lot of teams out there, nothing special right now. All right, should we get one more comment in here and call it a day? By the way, shout out to everybody being here. Please subscribe to the channel. Would greatly appreciate that. If you're a member, shout out to all the members. If you're not a member, please consider it's $3 a month. And it's a great way to support the channel. 22 games left. How many teams do we play? How many good teams do we have left to play? Well, I could tell you right off the top of my head. I know they got the Thunder twice. I know they got the Rockets twice. I know they got Denver twice. I know they got Minnesota. I know they got the Knicks. I know they got Orlando. Half of those games are going to be against good teams and teams above 500. I know I'm missing some games as well. I know I'm missing some teams. So there's still a handful left. All right, my people. I think that's all we got. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Tonight, right after the Lakers take on the Pelicans, we'll be right back here. We'll be live on YouTube. We'll be live. AM 570 will be supporting the channel and the show. We'll be live on their YouTube. We'll be live on their X, and we'll be also live on Facebook. Thank you for being a part of the show. We greatly appreciate everybody being here. Looking forward to doing the show a little bit later. Shout out to Sammy Long for joining the show. Thank you to Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm. Thank you to Harrah Resort, SoCal. Of course, all our partners. Very important to have them a part of the show. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day. And I will see you tonight after the Lakers take on the Pelicans.